Hi, my name is Prokopis and I'd like to welcome you to this series on pentatonic fingering systems for the guitar. We're going to look at the most common approaches for fingering pentatonics on the guitar and explore the benefits and limitations of each one of them. Here's some of the material that this series will cover. We'll look at 2-note per string pentatonics, 3-note per string pentatonics, pentatonics within 3-note per string modes, 3+2 or 2+3 note per string pentatonics, diagonal pentatonics and horizontal connections between positions, and the pitch content approach, and anything else that comes up during this investigation into pentatonic fingering systems. In this first lesson, we will explore the 2-note and 3-note per string systems, and then at the end, I will give you a recommendation for a system that can help you learn these scales quickly and effectively, in all keys, everywhere on the fretboard. Now, the first system we will look at is the classic 2-note per string system, which, as the name suggests, produces fingerings with 2 notes on each string. 5 of these fingerings will cover the whole fretboard and then repeat again in the higher octave. Here they are in the key of F minor or A flat major, however you call it, depending on the harmonic context. Here's the first one, second one, third one, the fourth, the fifth, and then they start again in the higher octave. The first one, the second one, and so on. These are considered by many as easy fingerings, and indeed the fact that you have less notes to handle in each shape does make the mental part of learning this easier than most other shapes. However, the technical difficulty which results from having to cross strings more often in your picking hand, combined with the increased mobility required by the left hand, actually makes these harder to play compared to regular 7-note scales. By the way, for some great teaching on overcoming the technical challenges of playing pentatonics, I highly recommend Troy Grady's Masters in Mechanics Cascade. That's a very insightful investigation on the playing of the legendary pentatonic master Eric Johnson. Check right below for a link to that. Let's now look at the much less common system, the 3-note per string pentatonic shapes. Each one of these can be seen as a combination of 2 adjacent 2-note per string shapes. For example, here's the result of combining the first 2 F minor fingerings we saw before. As before, we use 5 of these to cover every possible position on the fretboard, just with more overlap. Here they are again in the key of F minor or A flat major. The first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, number 5, and then again at the higher octave of the fretboard they repeat. So here's the first one again. And then the second one. And so on. Now you probably noticed a few strange things about this. First of all, they require some serious stretching on the left hand, which can be very demanding or even impossible if you're a beginner. On the other hand, though, having 3 notes per string available opens up different picking options in the right hand, and it makes some kinds of phrases much easier. It also allows you to explore phrasing choices that you never would using 2 notes per string. Another thing that you probably noticed is that the last note on each string is the same as the first note on the next. Having 2 options for the same note can be confusing in the beginning, but it opens up new technical and phrasing possibilities. For example, players that tend to use sweeping, or as it's also called economy picking, often alternate between using 3 notes on a string and just 1 on another, and then 3 again, and then 1. And this covers all the notes of the scale. But the 3-1-3 configuration allows for smooth sweeping on every string change. Here's another example of things you can explore with 3 note per string fingerings. This is something that I like to do, and it is to totally disregard the fact that there is a repeated note and use phrasing that I would in a regular 7-note scale. This produces a sound that I think is really cool. To summarize, 3 note per string fingerings is a fingering system that allows for a great degree of sophistication and experimentation if you're willing to spend some time with it. The traditional way for learning pentatonics, or any scales for that matter, is just to try to memorize all these shapes. But that approach can work. It can work well for some people, but in my years of learning and teaching, and I have been teaching professionally since 2001, I have found that it's not the best for most people. Most guitar players that try to simply memorize just end up remembering 1 or 2 of these positions, and they have trouble using them in all keys. Even those who do use all 5 fingerings, they usually have to climb up from one fingering to the next, not being able to freely jump wherever they feel like on the fretboard. Well, I happen to have a solution for this, and it's called SFS, or the String Fragment System, which I have been teaching to my students since 2010 with great results. This is an approach based on understanding the structure of a scale and mapping it intelligently everywhere on the fretboard. Once you learn how it works and you get used to it, you can then apply it to learn any kind of scale, even faster. I usually start my students with pentatonics, and then we move to modes of the major scale, modes of the melodic minor scale, modes of the harmonic minor scale, symmetric scales, whatever. And every time, every new scale they learn, it becomes easier. What happens is that they become faster at learning every new scale because the skills for using SFS are the same no matter what scale you're learning. You can even apply this system to 4 or 5 or 6 string bass, 7-string guitar, or actually whatever string instrument you want to apply it to. If you're interested to hear more about this, you can find links to the SFS Pentatonics lesson pages below this video. Also, if you like practicing scales over backing tracks, I have a bunch of them in my YouTube channel. They cover many scales and modes in all keys, so check them out as well. That's it. If you enjoyed this, please support me by subscribing and liking this video. Also, leave any comments you want below and I'll do my best to answer any questions. Thanks for watching, and remember, enjoy your practice and be effective.